And when it comes to creating opportunity, the most powerful formula I know by far is P plus S equals O. Problem plus solution equals opportunity, and the bigger the problem you can solve, the greater that opportunity, and the more problems that you can solve at the same time, the greater that opportunity. So let's look for some problems to solve for Gen Y, and the best place to start is the employment situation, which has gotten so bad that Gen Y is now called Generation Jobless for many of the reasons described in these short video clips.
By 2030, over half of the jobs in the world are going to transition. They're going to disappear.
Students about to graduate in a generation leaving school with dwindling job prospects.
Higher education is actually preparing people for jobs of the past.
I don't understand why we're pushing more people into university and college so that they can graduate with debt and not be able to find a job.
In fact, the Gen Y unemployment situation has now gotten to the point that for every 250 qualified resumes, there is only one college-level job, and Gen Y unemployment right now is soaring close to 40%. And the next huge problem is student debt, which has now exceeded car loans and credit card loans, and the average student debt per graduating senior is now approaching $30,000.
Policy of student loans is a total failure. I mean, $1 trillion of debt.
Here's a scary thought. Student debt is starting to look a lot like mortgage debt before the housing crisis.
The average debt for a college senior right now is over $25,000.
And this unemployment and debt situation has now reached the point that record numbers of people in their 20s are moving back home to live with mom and dad, even to the point that Gen Y is now also being called the boomerang generation, and the percentage of Gen Y members that are now living at home has now topped 36%.
The New York Times says so-called boomerang kids aren't just a temporary phenomenon, but part of a new and permanent life stage.
Everybody, I'm not only a comedian, I'm also a stay-at-home son.
Well, they're often called the boomerang generation, and new numbers show there's a lot of them. Talking about adult children who return home to live with their parents. New study shows a third of adults ages 18 to 34 now live with mom and dad.
Hi, Mom, I'm home.
And as if all this is not enough, to make matters even worse, at the exact same time that unemployment, student debt, and Gen Y members moving back home are all exploding, their annual income is plummeting, and this is creating an absolute Gen Y problem cluster.
Gen Y is the largest generation in U.S. history, yet the financial crisis has threatened this lost generation.
You are seeing the potential of an economically lost generation.
For the first time in the history of our nation, our children will not do as well as us.
To get to the bottom line, the combined effect of all these Gen Y problems can be summed up in these headlines. American dream fades for Gen Y professionals. Are millennials the screwed generation? Is Gen Y becoming the new lost generation? The numbers behind why millennials are generation frustration. The unluckiest generation, what will become of the millennials? Gen Y, no jobs, lots of loans, grim future.